Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LSC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Mihai, Dan, and Harmony. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. How's everybody doing? Dan, how are you today, my friend?
Doing good. You guys can't get rid of me until I go back to work, and then you're just going to get rid of me by default.
Yeah, pretty much. Harmony, long time, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, no, it's been a while since we've been on together. So yeah, no, I'm good, and it's good to be
Good.
back on with you again.
Yeah, as always, man. Dream team. Mihai, how are you, my friend? It's been a while since we've been on as well.
Yeah, I'm okay. Trying not to think about the weekend.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I can't wait for Endo to go out there and absolutely smash Joe Linton. Can't wait for it.
Well, Joe Linton's injured. Don't worry about it.
No, he's actually been shot. He's able to go. He's good to go. Wilcock is out, but Joe Linton's been given the green light to go ahead for Sunday, so we have him to worry about. But we'll get to all of that later on in the stream. So first thing that we got to talk about is Manu Kone. There's been new information that's come out that Borussia Mönchengladbach are quite happy to expect another deal from us, and that they are. They're really they're thinking a deal is going to come in from us, or a bid is going to come in from us in the next while, and they think that they can get him for a little bit cheaper than what he was at the start of the window, purely because of the injury that took place with him. Now, a couple of questions that I have for you guys and in the chat as well. I'll start with yourself, Harmony. Does the injury concern raise all that much of a concern for you, or is it a bit of a he's healed now, he's back training, he's good to go, or do you have any concerns about it?
I'm kind of both sides of the fence. I'm happy that we're going in for him, because I believe that he could be the six, or the kind of six that Klopp is looking for. Because everyone is reporting that we're not looking for an actual natural six. We're just looking for somebody that that can play multiple positions, and he's one of those players that can play multiple positions. And so, in that basis, we will kind of getting the guy that we want, that Klopp wants. But the injuries are a concern, because that midfield needs to be kind of injury free this season, because we don't have a lot of backup, and the backup that we do have, they're not quite the standards that we will need to be challenging the Man Cities, the Arsenals, so that's where it's concerning when it comes to the injury part of him, because he's still young. He's had some knee injuries and knee problems, which is not great for a midfielder and someone that is tall as well. So that's where the concern comes in for me. When it comes to injuries, because you know how it is for Liverpool. We've been riddled with injuries over the years, and there's only been like probably 2 seasons where we didn't have that many injuries, and both of those seasons we ended up winning the Champions League and the Premier League the season afterwards. So it shows you, if we can stay fit, we're good to go. But once we start losing bodies here and there, and there's not really quality on the bench to replace those bodies, that's when we start looking a bit, sketchy and a bit shaky. So that's my only concern when it comes to the player.
Yeah, and as you said, with regards to injuries, we have doubts for this weekend in relation to Ibrahim Konate, but thankfully it's only doubts. It's a muscle injury apparently that's only plaguing him. He could be good to go on Sunday. We don't know yet. Mihai, with yourself, do you think the injuries are that much of an issue? Do you think he should be good to go? I've watched him a little bit. He's been performing quite well with Borussia. Would it be much of a concern for you? Would you have much reservations there?
In a way, yeah. But at this point, I take pretty much anyone, because we've been waiting for a DM for quite a while now, or someone who's at least versatile in midfield. Pretty much anything at the moment. I don't know. To me, look, I mean, there is a slight concern in the sense that you have Thiago there, who's known to pick up a few injuries during the season. You have Jones, who's also picks up a knock here and there. So I get why you would view it as a concern, but I mean, if he's been identified as potential, as a good match by the club, then I don't see a problem with it, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry, I have to address this comment by not Sean. Where is it, Stu? It's mid-table. I'm sorry. Have you seen some of the other teams around us? But if we perform like we did last season, we're getting top 3, and that's a bad season we had last season, and we've improved on last season. I don't know why you'd say that we'd end up mid-table. Have you seen Chelsea? they have more signings than games won since Todd Bowley took over. So like that's mad. We'll have Stu on fraud watch for the rest of the season. Dan, with yourself, is there? I'll ask the same question really, because it's the question that's posed on a lot of people's minds, especially considering the injury that happened to him during the under-21 competition earlier in the summer. Is it a concern for you? Do you think it's, as Harmony said, obviously with a taller player, he's not exactly very broadly built. He's quite a slender player as it is. I say slender. He's probably as big as I am, but is it a concern for yourself? For me, I don't personally think it's all that much of a concern. The injury wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, and he recovered fairly quickly, and he's been back in training and playing in games already. So is it at the forefront of your mind, or is it much of a, okay, he's recovered, time to move on kind of thing?
Well, I mean, I've been following Borussia Mönchengladbach for, oh God, how many years now? 2010, 2011, ever since the Bundesliga started showing here in America. So, I mean, I followed Gladbach for a very long time. I mean, it's an impact injury, so it's one of those where you just kind of, it happens, you take it or leave it. In that situation, it wasn't a situation where he just ruptured his ACL or his hamstring with no one around him. Even the Curtis Jones injury, I know that Harmon mentioned, that's an impact injury as well on his ankle. And, those just happen, and you just have to manage them anyways. It's not, it's the muscle injuries I'd be more worried about as well. If, like, obviously with Konate, it seems, like I said, they're just managing his injury right now at the moment. His knock, like, not going to rush him back if he's not ready to go. So does it become a muscle tear like obviously that Kevin De Bruyne had as well? I mean, I wouldn't be worried. It just really comes down to, again, like we say, like, what is his pay package? What is his transfer market? Are you committing to him for the long-term future? Or is he going to be, like I think like Mihai and both Harmony said, someone who's very multifaceted, which he is, but he's mostly a defensive player, but he is very multifaceted, very a dribbly boy. He's
quite a progressive player in that regard.
He is. He progresses usually through his dribbling, though, through his ball carrying, similar to like how Gini did, rather than something like his progressive passing, which is what Soboslai does, though we saw in that game how he does that as well. I'm not really worried. It really just comes down to, will Gladbach do a deal? Will they do a deal at a price that Liverpool are going to pay, in many ways? And can they get a deal done fast? Now, what I would be worried about is that we do sign if he has his medical and it's a Fekir situation where, like, it's actually worse and we pull out. And then because we committed to the deal, we don't have enough time to get another player through. Or it's we get him in and he's probably going to have to wait another 2 to 3 weeks to get up to speed. I do think even if we signed Manu Kone, he's not playing until probably October. So I as long as we're okay with that, which I'm okay with that because he's a good player, but as long as everyone else is okay with that expectation, I think it's a decent deal. And I've wanted Kone since the beginning. Granted, it was Kone and Thuram, but I've wanted Manu Kone since the end of June. So if you can get him in, I think it'd be a great addition.
Yeah. I was a big fan of his as well myself when we were looking for him. Guys, there's nearly 150 people in here watching us at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not yet, actually, I might say to correct myself, please do like and subscribe. Helps the channel. We're nearly at 10,000 subscribers. Going to try and get there by the end of the transfer window. It would be a massive achievement for us. So thank you so much for watching, and please do like and subscribe. If we were to get Manu Kone, and considering his value earlier in the window was about the 40 to 50 million euro mark. Harmony, how would you feel if we were to go do you think he'd go for much less than that now, considering the injury and the recovery for it? And if so, what would you reckon a reasonable price tag for him would be in this market?
I'll say 25 million that we could get. I believe we could get for that. I think the most we'll probably play is 30, but I don't see us paying any more than that, to be honest with you, because like you said, the whole injury situation, so that does bring the value down. And I think that the player, if it came down to it and you were actually genuinely interested, we're actually definitely going in for him. I think he'll probably put pressure for the club to actually sell him so he can come to us. So that kind of gives us the upper hand on the price and everything, so we can kind of lowball the club as well. So that's why I'm looking at the price. We're looking at the price of about 25 to 30 million, and I believe that will get the deal done. Yeah.
Mihai, yourself is in and around the same valuation, considering the injury and the time since the start of the window. Would you go at a different value, a little bit higher, a little bit lower?
No, I think when you first asked it, I thought about 30 million as well. So I guess that's about right.
Yeah, I'd be in agreement with you there. Dan, are we all quad of us in agreement with about 30 million considering the injury, or would you go a little bit higher, a little bit lower?
Well, yeah, I think right now he's rated at roughly around 40 million euros considering the market. So I think that's about 30 million pounds. I mean, I'd probably go. I wouldn't say. I get what Harvey's saying about 30 mil as like a ceiling. I don't think that might be the ceiling up front, but there might be add-ons to where it pushes to 40 or 38 mil, and that pushes close to 42, 45 as well. I mean, listen, Gladbach need money. I mean, I'm just gonna be completely honest. They haven't really sold a lot of their players. They have an aging squad. They need to replace players. Marcus Thuram, who was their, which is Kevin Thuram's older brother, who was a highly rated forward, left on a free. So they do need to bring money in, because they've been a mid-table Bundesliga team after being in Europe, in and out of Europe. So I'm not saying Liverpool going with low ball, but it's Jurg's son is the sporting director of Borussia Mönchengladbach. So he's probably asked them how much would they be willing to go to, what price they want, no BS, and they probably came back with something around 40 to 45 million euros, which they would need to reinvest in their squad. So I think if you can get him around that, that's a perfectly good price.
Yeah.
Again,
he's love a little bit of insider trading.
Yeah. Listen, he has his number. It's just he can have a friendly conversation. It doesn't have to involve this, but they can just speak in in German and just speak in code for the most part if someone's recording.
Yeah, it'll be perfect. Now, I do have to share something that Stu mentioned, and I know it's a bit of a typo, but I do have to just read it out. Chelsea will beat Luton. I mean, I'd be worried if they didn't. Liverpool will lose to Newcastle. I could see that happening, but I don't particularly predict it, to be perfectly honest with you, as this week has gone on. Chelsea will finish above Liverpool. That's something I genuinely have to question your sanity on. Other teams that will finish above Liverpool are Arsenal, possibly. Cheaty, I know you meant Chelsea, but it's ironic that you said Cheaty. Newcastle, Spurs, Brighton and United. So I don't know if you've forgotten a particular Manchester City there, but I definitely don't think United are finishing above us. And Spurs, I think we can put that argument to bed now, to be honest with you.
I think Cheaty are City, right?
Unless he meant City.
City, yeah. So
Cheaty,
I mean,
excuse me, Stu. Apologies. I thought you meant Chelsea. My bad. I mean, if the glove fits, but
I understand Stu's anxiety. I feel like we've just had so much anxiety with the transfer window that's driven everyone just a bit insane. They've lost all perspective. Brighton have Europe, and they're not a deep team. Tottenham are young. Newcastle's sixth choice midfielder is a youth player that's never played. Like, I know we're talking about seventh and eighth midfielders here, and we're talking about adding quality players. A lot of these teams are not very deep beyond the first 15 to 16.
Yeah,
Arsenal, I know Mihai's an Arsenal fan. Like, again, they're not a very deep team. They just lost Timber. Jesus just came back. They're selling Florian Balogun as well. Like, I get the anxiety over us in many ways.
Love it, Stu.
In many ways, but like, we're not in the worst position. That's why. Like,
no, realistically, we're not. Like, especially considering the injury to Kevin De Bruyne and Man City's lack of depth as well. Like, we say that Man City are bringing in players, but with their lack of depth as well, they do, and you only need to look at the squad and everything to realize that. But I do understand the trepidation that people like Stu would have, and Stu themselves would have, that maybe we haven't signed the depth that we need. But realistically, if you take a look at around the league and the context and what it is, United have just lost their £60 million sign into an injury for a couple of weeks. Granted, we have the international break coming up, but United have lost him. Their midfield is getting dribbled past more than anybody else in the league. Mount has been dribbled past 6 or 7 times, and then there's another 6 or 7 between Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. Alexis McAllister, who's not a defensive midfielder, has only been dribbled past 3 times. So that kind of tells you the quality that we've brought in Szoboszlai and McAllister. I do get the trepidation. We all dread seeing a Joe Gomez or a Joel Matip starting against an Isak on Sunday. I get it. I do. Don't worry. But I genuinely think you need to look at the rest of the league around us. Arsenal don't have that deep of a team. They've lost Timber. They're losing other players. I genuinely think if we do end up and go sign a 6, this league is wide open for us to win. And I know you're not on the wind-ups too. I know that, and I know it's a bit of banter having back. But I do agree with you that no defenders is signed, with some injury concerns and how Joel Matip and Joe Gomez looked in the preseason. I get the worry about it. Don't get me wrong; it's not unfounded, the worry. But I do think we need to look at the other teams around us. I can see maybe 2 teams finishing above us, and that's at a push. realistically. So I do think that this league is wide open for us this year, and it's there for the taking. So hopefully we'll both be laughing about it at the end of the season, thinking, oh, look at us, we were laughing. So silly of us to think that any of those teams would finish above us. But we're coming into the third weekend of the season, so we'll see how it goes from here. Moving on, just before we move on to our next topic, we nearly have 200 people in here, so please do like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you have, thank you so much. Please do share the video. Tell your friends about us. Tell your parents about us. Tell your mum, your dad, your sister, the whole lot. Tell everybody about us so that they can come and watch as well and get some good content, because that's what we really want to give to you guys. So thank you so much for joining us and watching. Now, on to our next topic. Salah. We've been told that he's going to be getting paid £350,000 a day. He's going to be the face of the league. He's going to be this, that, and the other. Promise the sun, moon, and the stars. And Jurgen Klopp this morning at 9:45 UK time came out and slapped a big no on the table. He is not for sale. Now, there were rumblings that he was going to be interested in selling next year for about £125 million. But thankfully for that, that's next year that we have to worry about that. But the amount, £125 million, I would like to ask everybody in the chat in relation to that if they'd be happy with that to go next year, and if they would be happy for him to go next year. I personally think it's about time we started looking at his replacement. But I'll pose the question to the guys here in the group with me. Mihai, with yourself, 125 million next summer, that's what they were willing to accept in relation to Mo Salah. Would you be happy with that amount? And would you be confident that we would reinvest that properly?
I would take the 125. I do not trust these owners anymore. But yeah, I think it's really interesting now to think about it, with Sadio leaving last season now, or 2 years ago, last year, whatever. Firmino, Bobby leaving this summer, and now thinking about selling Mo as well. It's almost like you can't really think about, seeing a front three without any of these guys. But yeah, I think, to be honest, it is time to think about selling. And honestly, if we're going to do it next summer for that amount of money, I couldn't even really complain. I just feel like, me personally, I feel a bit disappointed because I really wanted us to sign Doku ever since we've had these links with him for like the past 2 seasons. I think now we've been linked with him like every summer, every window. Sorry. Yeah, now City signed him. I don't know. I honestly saw him as the kind of what's the word? To play there after Mo leaves. But yeah, honestly, I would take the money, but I don't really trust the owners anymore. Like after this summer, after offering 115 for Caicedo and then spending 15, and not knowing if we are going to invest anymore. I can't trust these owners anymore.
Now, it hasn't been reinvested yet. We don't know. It may be reinvested, but there's still 5 days left of a transfer window, 6 days left of a transfer window. Anything can happen. And I predict the next 6 days are going to be absolutely crazy, and I can't wait for it. Harmony, with that 125 million valuation, how do you feel about that? Would you be happy to let him go this summer for that? Would you be happy to let him go next summer for that? And what about any replacements? Have you any in mind that we could be thinking about? Because realistically, he's going to go at some point, and I think this season he's 10 goals off being top 10 in the Premier League in scoring. I don't think there was any hope of him leaving this season purely because of that. And I think he's 10 off. He's 5 or 6 off the top 10 in Champions League. Now, fortunately, we're in Europa this year, so that's not going to get broken this season. But 125 million this summer, next summer, any replacements? What do you think?
For me, I would take it. I've been advocating and saying that he's going to leave next season. I've been saying it since I've been on the stream, and I've just been thinking about it, and I've just been the only thing that's got me a bit nervous is just analyzing the market, and I just don't see anybody that I personally feel like that can fulfill that role as well as he does. That's the only concern I would have when it comes to us selling him and letting him go next season. For the 125 million, I would say 100. I'll say 150 personally, just to bump it up a little bit more. You never know, because we might just get 50 million to spend, and 100 million goes to the owners. So at least give us 50 million to spend next season, which will be good for us. So that's how much I'll want to evaluate Salah's price for next season. So yeah, just depending on how the owners and obviously the board and Klopp and obviously the recruitment team reinvest that money. The only nervous, like I said, I'm only nervous because I don't know who can we bring in right now.
Yeah.
We can say, yes, that's a good replacement for Salah, or you know what, he can come in and do a job just like Salah did. We're not going to feel like, oh my God, we're missing Mo Salah as much. I just don't see it, so that's the only concern that I'm having right now when it comes to us selling Salah. I wish we could keep him until next season, but the way the Saudi league has been moving, I don't see it happening. And I think if that offer comes in for Liverpool, I feel like it'll be really hard for them to resist and say no to it. So yeah, I just hope that from this season, from starting this month until next summer, we are actually really, really digging deep and trying to find that Mo Salah replacement that's going to come in and just kick on, and without us feeling like we're missing a vital piece, which is good. We are going to miss a vital piece because he's Mo Salah. But I just hope we have somebody or a list in mind of people that can come in and do a job there.
Yeah.
Can I just?
Yeah, go ahead, Mihai. Sorry.
Can I hop in? I was thinking just to answer to Harmony, and I'm sorry, Dan, for cutting your.
I'll get to Dan will get his time. Don't worry.
I was actually thinking, like for the past few months, I was thinking if Salah leaves, I think there is one player in Europe that I see that could be close to what he's done for us, the type of player that can dribble, get inside, play that role. And I think the only one that I could think of was Federico Chiesa. I don't know about you.
Oh, but he's a left-side player, isn't he? He plays on the left. He doesn't play on the right, does he?
Yeah.
No, he plays on the right, and he's a left-footed player.
The only player to me that makes sense as a left-footed, right-sided player is Karim Adeyemi, and he's someone who can play across the front line. So I get the Chiesa one, Mihai, but I'm off Chiesa because he's just injuries to his production just hasn't been there. Same with Doku. Like Doku has a lot of raw talent, but it reminds me a lot of Adama Traore, where someone who's very, very talented. He doesn't
really have much end product.
Yeah.
Now that could be coached into him. That's not to say that he doesn't develop into that kind of a player.
Absolutely.
Well, I think something that we're missing here is Liverpool's tendency to move, like how we're moving ahead in what we're doing, like the signing of Darwin, the signing of Cody Gakpo. I mentioned this in our group as well, is what if we just threw Gakpo on the right and then put Darwin Núñez in the middle, and that's your front three then, Diaz, Núñez and Gakpo. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. And realistically, I think you're never going to replace Salah. I think what we need to do is replace his production, a little bit like Moneyball, the movie, where the Oakland A's lost a couple of different players, but instead of trying to replace them, they went about replacing the production with cheaper options, which is what FSG's model is. But yeah, the thing that I was trying to say, what was I trying to say? So we have it here. I found a comment. It depends, as Easy Ollie mentioned here, it depends on the kind of player we want. If we want a goal scoring winger beside Gakpo, then Malin. If we want a creative winger beside Darwin, I'm not even going to begin to pronounce that name. I don't know the person. Go on, Dan. You want to have a go with it?
No, I know how to say it, but I don't want to try and say it again. I've said it like once in my entire life, so I'm not going to try again.
I think I was close to that.
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Kvaratskhelia is the closest one.
Kvaratskhelia. Excuse me. Thank you.
Kvaratskhelia.
The K is silent. Happy days.
It's that Georgian pronunciation.
Yeah. Those weird guys down in the Balkans. Or the Baltic nations. I'm not on the ball with it today at all. I apologize, Mihai. That's it. We're realistically it's thinking about if we're going to try and replace him properly or not. Like it's and I agree with you. How many World Series have they won?
Red
0.
Sox won 4, but the Red Sox won 4 with the same.
Red Sox have won 4 exactly.
So that's So and they've won more in the past 20 years than any other baseball team has, like more than the Dodgers, more than the Astros. They've won 4. They've been the most successful team in the past 20 years. in the
Dan
midfield.
repping his hometown there. But yeah, like it all really depends on how you're trying to replace him at the end of the day. Like, are you trying to replace Salah or are you trying to replace the production? Because I don't think you're going to replace Salah. Something that Hilliard actually brought as well is, how much does Salah bring in the club revenue in relation, and how much would it take to replace that? Because shirt sales, sponsors, he obviously brings in a big part of the Muslim community as well, considering his beliefs and everything like that. So realistically, like it's not so much an on the pitch production loss. You're losing an absolute ambassador off the pitch as well, and that's very hard to replace too. So there's an awful lot of facets to this that we need to consider. Before we move on to our next topic, which is some hopeful signings and some rumblings and rumors. We've over 200 people in here again, guys. We're just on the half an hour mark of the stream. Please do like and subscribe, really helps us out. So we're trying to hit our 10k goal before the end of the transfer window, which is in 6 days time. It ends on September 1st or midnight on October 30th, I think, if I have my numbers right. But we're trying to hit that mark at that point, so we can't wait for that final day. It's going to be manic for the next couple of days. It's going to be great. It's going to be loads of business for us to do. Now, moving on to the next topic. Piero Hincapie is happy to join Liverpool. He would very much love to join Liverpool, but he's his mind kind of okay and happy with Bayer Leverkusen at the moment. But Leverkusen have said that they want 60 million euro, but I reckon we might be able to get him for a little bit cheaper than that as the window goes on. Now, I wouldn't necessarily have him as number one target. My video that was done on the page not a couple of earlier today, he was will be there on Sunday. Apologies. Will count him and two other centre backs that we need to look at. My favorite man in the world, Gonzalo Inacio, is one of them. So please do tune into that too. Dan, I'll start with yourself in relation to Mr. Hincapie. Do you see him as a viable option considering the injury news that we've just given for Konate? Is it a higher priority currently at the moment? Is it something that we definitely do need to look into? And it should be more of a priority than getting in another six or a more established six, that we should need to focus on reinforcing that back line?
Well, priority, yes, because they've Klopp said it all the way back in June that it was a priority to look for a defender. Is it Hincapie? I don't really know. So this is the problem with center backs right now in the summer. If you're signing a center back for a 3-box-3, then yeah, Hincapie makes sense. If you want that left side center back, like we said all summer, with the fact that we don't think Robertson's a center back. He's not a center back. He's a left back. He's a
winger, really.
Yeah, he's a winger, but he's the best winger in the world. He's the best defensive winger in the world. I don't, in my honest opinion, they're not going to get Hincapie or Ignacio. If they wanted to, they could have moved much earlier in the market if they rated him. I think they're signing, this is my opinion, I think they're trying to sign Van Dijk's long-term replacement, which is why they wanted Colwell. Because Colwell is someone that could have came in, he fit this very niche. He won his headers, he's progressive with the ball. He has all the stats to make Van Dijk the best center back in the world. And if you don't believe he's the best center back in the world, the one of the best center backs in the world, even after his injury. You know, it's that ability to win your battles, win your headers, and have that ridiculous passing, the ability to switch to play from left to right very quickly. There's no one right now available that can kind of do that, like Guardiola. So as much as we overrate Guardiola's not the best defensive center back. Now you can argue that's not what he was doing at Leipzig, but his stats don't support that. His headers don't. Has shockers. Again, I'm not saying Guardiola's a bad player. I just think that what they want in them is the unicorn center back that they can develop. And none of the people in the market right now match that. Ignacio is just another version of Guardiola, and Hincapie is just another version of Ignacio. So you're talking about very similar types of players and profiles with the progressiveness, with the defensive actions, with their aerial win duels. And I just don't think they're going to move for Hincapie. I honestly think, and I've told Harmony this, if Kwanzaa doesn't go on loan, and I don't think he is, he's going to be the one they're going to look at this summer for at least until January. And then they'll probably look at getting a center back in long-term next, because my idea of the way they're doing this is that Gomez and Konate are going to be the right side center backs, and what Mata believes they're going to buy a left-sided center back is who I think they're going to do, because I don't think they're going to stick with this 3-box-3 beyond really this year, and maybe they'll get rid of it by the end of January as well.
Yeah. Before I move on to anybody else, I'd like to thank Saren Ledit for the 169 Dutch kroner, or Danish kroner, excuse me. Thank you so much for that. Really helps out the channel. Very much appreciate it. We pump it all back into the channel. It works out at about £29, but that's astonishing. Thank you so much for that. Very generous of you. Szoboszlai's natural position is actually right wing. What do we think about just letting Ben Doak and Dom share the position and bringing Doucouré and Kone to cover the midfield? I am not against Szoboszlai sitting out on the right wing, and I think part of his signing was in relation to Salah going away to AFCON in January, and that provides us a little bit more depth out there too, because then Curtis Jones could fill in, or Harvey Elliott could fill in into Szoboszlai's position while Szoboszlai then moves out to the right, or he's a little bit of a positionless player because he can play anywhere on that right hand side of the field. I think that's a fantastic shout to have him there and let him and Doak sort of build into that role. I think Ben Doak is going to be an absolute special player, and I do think he's going to move into that. And thank you again so much for the Danish kroner works. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Soren. It's really appreciated. Thank you so much for that. Just after seeing a tweet that we're after putting out there, that according to, now it's an Italian news team that's reported it about a German league, but we just had a 48 million bid turned down for a particular Bundesliga midfielder. I'll let you take guesses as to who it was. Who do we think it was, Harmony?
Joshua Kimmich.
No. Anybody have any guesses as to who it was? We just traded it. Yeah, it was Gravenberg. 48 million euro. I'm glad that was turned down. God damn. I wouldn't pay 48 million euro for him. Jesus. If that's true, I'm glad it was turned down. God.
You're on mute, Harmony.
I don't think the rumors are true, honestly. I feel like he just put it.
Yeah, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt, and it's an Italian news team reporting on a German league, so do with that information what you will. But nonetheless, clickbaity, and we love that kind of stuff. With moving on to the next topic that we have here is the on top of Hincapie as well, we have the Belgian centre back in. Now, this is my first time pronouncing his name in real life, so please forgive me if I butcher it. Tete. I was right the first time. I should have more faith in myself. Apparently, £30 million price tag. There's that's what they want from. I've not watched him myself. I can't really speak much on him, so I'll open the floor up to you guys. I'll start with yourself, Mihai, in this. Have you watched much of him? Do you think he'd be a good signing? Is 30 million a good valuation? There's no bid as of yet, no formal bid put in as of yet, but he's on the radar FC, they should call us this season. We should just get a spinning wheel of all the anecdotes that the journalists have been using. Give me your opinions on Thierry and how he may fit into ourselves on either the right or the left sided centre back.
Yeah, first of all, I haven't watched him, so I can't really have like an expert analysis on him. But what I do know is what I've said at the beginning, and bear with me here, but just sign anyone, please. Just sign someone. We need someone. We need more than one, but yeah. Honestly, at this point, I'm not even gonna try and argue who do I think is better. I've always said that I trust the club. I trust Jurgen now that he has that he's responsible, mainly him and Jörg Schmadtke for the transfers. If they've identified one center back who can come in and help us out for a few seasons, whatever, just get him in. But honestly, I honestly don't see us signing anyone else, because it's just we're just linked to anyone. Like if it were something, if it were true, like any of those reports on Twitter, if they were true, I guess you would see at least an offer, like somewhere, like from an actual good source. Yeah, I just don't think we're sending anyone else.
Not a defender. Not a defender. I always said, I think we're going to sign another midfielder, because after the Colwell deal didn't go through, I think that, in their minds, on their board, so allegedly, this is from what's been reported, the way Liverpool, they have a big board and they have the list of players that they rate. they go for one, and I think Caldwell was the one on the board they really wanted to get. The other one, and I know Emre brought it up, is Nico Schlotterbeck. I think Schlotterbeck's the other one they want to do as well because Dortmund play not a dissimilar style to what we play, and Schlotterbeck's a good left-sided center back. And Mihai, I agree with you that I think we'd all be happy with just anybody, but then we got Callback and Davies, and that didn't really work out.
We got Arthur Melo.
That's true. We got Arthur Melo, and that didn't work out as well. So I don't think anybody is the best answer here. Obviously, somebody's better than nobody in many instances. But for me, if you're not going to sign anyone that's going to be that can start, let's say 15 to 20 games as a left center back, then just use Juro Kwanzaa for at least until January. And if
I think Kwanzaa is going to actually be decent in the cup games. I think he's going to be given an awful lot of run in the early cup games and in some of the early Europa League games, and I think that's going to really stand to him. Now, I do want to get to a question. Daryl has been asking, and he did ask us to answer this question, the Kone stuff. Daryl, would you mind elaborating on that? What Kone stuff are you on about? Is in the injury, or that we're interested in him, or that is it something got to do with that? If you let us know in the comments, we'll get back to it as soon as we can, please.
So I've been reading all the German reports, and as far as I can tell, is that the deal is still very much on, meaning they are in contact. So that's as far as I can tell. I've been going through all of the Mönchengladbach fan stuff and reading all of the fun German fan stuff, and essentially all they're saying is, as far as they are aware, because he's not in the first team right now, that there are still discussing between Jörg Schmadtke and his son. I think it's Nico Schmadtke. Nick Schmadtke, it might be something else, but they're still discussing over a potential Kone deal.
Yeah, Daryl, we are interested, and we've been interested in him throughout the summer. The interest kind of died when he had his unfortunate knee injury during the under-21 competition, but as he's back in training now, and it wasn't exactly as serious as what we thought it would be, we're it's kind of reignited the interest, and a couple of the bigger journalists around the Twitter sphere have said that there is rumblings that it's one to keep an eye on as the window closes, that there might be a bit of a late bid. And then there was reports the other day that or earlier today or yesterday that mentioned that Mönchengladbach are anticipating a bid from Liverpool, and there's a lot of close ties there between the Schmadtke family, so there is genuine interest, and I think that's something that should be watched now. Harmony, in relation to Thierry and Hincapie, where would you rank the most important position that we need to sign if we were to sign somebody at the moment? Given Konate's injury, would you still rather get a 6 to be able to help cover the back four, or would you rather get somebody in the back four to add bolster to the depth?
I feel like it's an unfair question because both positions are important. So,
which do you think impacts more, though? So we've lost. Let's say we lose Konate for Sunday, and which do you think will impact more, a new 6 or a new centre back in that respect?
A new 6 will impact more because at least that way he gives us a bit more protection to protect the back line.
Yeah, I'd be of the same mind as that.
Yeah, so he'll give us more protection, protecting the back line, and he'll be able to sniff up the danger before it even gets to the defenders. So that would be more important. But in the same breath as I'm saying that, I'm also thinking a centre-back will be great. Because
the depth,
honestly, it's going to be great because I'm just looking at Matip. I feel like this is his last season, and I feel like he will be leaving next season. And I'm looking at Joe Gomez. I'm thinking, is he going to last until next season as well? Is he going to get one more season to kind of prove himself? So that's what I'm kind of weighing. That's the reason why I even said both positions are important, because I'm just looking at those two guys and I'm thinking those are two of our backups. If Joe Gomez was in his form like he was when we were playing the 18, 19, I would not mind it at all. I'll be so happy that we have him as a backup. But because his form has dropped so much and his injuries he's been so unfortunate with injuries, and Matip, he has his good times, and when he's bad, he's really bad, and he's had his injuries as well. It just kind of makes me nervous. I'm thinking, if we lose a Virgil, if we lose a Konate, who do we really have to rely on in those position? Yeah, it's all good having a 6 in that position, but let's say that 6 can't stop that ball going through, or can't sniff the danger in a particular
it makes
moment.
No difference who you have there. Yeah, it makes no difference. Can't help it. Yeah,
exactly. So that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm just thinking, Both, but I would prefer a centre back more,
Yeah.
more than a six, more personally.
Long term, I think center back would be the best option, but in the immediate term for this season, the 6 is probably the best one.
Yeah.
I don't get this idea of like Gomez not being good enough. I get Matip because he is declining and he is older.
I mean,
but
but Gomez isn't good enough because he hasn't been good enough since 2020, man. If you've been shit at
No,
your job,
no,
if
no,
you've been shit at your
no,
job for 3
it's-
years, like
Okay,
It's true, Dan. It's true.
No,
it's true.
no,
And
no,
I'm a big
no.
advocate of Gomez. I want him to do well, and he has all the attributes to do well, but he just can't stay fit. And
if
it
I
takes
was
him
in
a
my
while
job
him
for
to,
3
That's
years
fair.
and was terrible
Listen,
at it,
come on.
I'd be fired.
Listen. The
That man
injuries, I
makes
perfectly
3 times
understand.
my salary a year.
So injuries, I perfectly understand that in many ways. But when Gomez, like blaming Gomez, I understand he had bad performances last year at Napoli. He was bad. In other games, he was bad. Like, yes, he has had bad performances last
Madrid.
year. Madrid,
he was
yes,
responsible
absolutely.
for 4 of the 5 goals against Madrid.
Listen, that's fine. That's fine if you want to make that argument. On the other hand, there were a lot of other problems that team than Joe Gomez. Is my point.
Dan, I'd agree
Like,
with you, but then we'd both be wrong. Like so.
Well, my point being is the fact that if you get your DM and your midfield and your front line press right, then your defenders then that's how you build a defense. Like, I know it sounds insane to some people sometimes, but the way you build a defense is not from the back; it's from the front. You have to.
Oh yeah,
defend
but that's
from
how this Liverpool team is set up as well. And before I get on to that,
Yeah.
I do want to mention this because we need to get onto this. Is Boogers Taste Salty? What a name, love it. The fact that we're looking for a VVD replacement when we need a Matip Gomez replacement. Yes, Dan, we need a Matip Gomez replacement.
Yep, there you go.
That's Konate. That's literally what Konate is. He's the Matip replacement that
They are
signed
neither
last
good.
year.
They are neither good enough to be starting for us, and they're not. And look, you can be a Gomez stan all you want, and I appreciate it. Thank you, by the way, Boogers Taste Salty. That is a very appreciative $5 that you've sent us there. As I said, it all goes back to the page to make more content for you guys. Very much appreciated. And look, Dan, we can argue until the sun goes down about Gomez and everything. And yeah, Drew, you can say Gomez against City. I get it. Yeah, but like I could have one great day in work and 364 shit days in work. I'll still get fired. Like that's the way I look at it. Look, it's all well and good trying to wait for Gomez to come back to form, but if he hasn't been back to form since 2020, I think it's time to start considering maybe it's time to move off from him. I think it was time to move off from him last summer. We should have went and started getting replacements last summer for the depth. He really hasn't been at the races since 2020 when we won the Premier League. And for all the good he was back then, I just don't think he's been up to snuff since then. And that's not a bad thing to say. It's just he's not good enough. Is he better than me? 100%. Is he good enough for Liverpool? No, not by a long shot.
Can I just?
Yeah, go ahead, Mihai, because Dan's just biting at the bit.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm gonna say something controversial, maybe.
Okay.
But I've been saying to a mate of mine that I honestly see Gomez I saw Gomez dropping in form ever since we won the league in that season. When we actually won the league, you could actually see Gomez was dropping in form. And you know what the thing is about Gomez? He doesn't make a lot of obvious mistakes during the game, yeah?
The little mistakes that compound.
It's the little mistakes, exactly. Like when you look at him, when you single him out, when you look at the highlights, when you look exactly at what Gomez is doing on the pitch, you see a ball coming, like an aerial ball coming towards him. No one on a 5 yards radius, he heads it out. A simple pass he has to make, he doesn't make it, turns around, loses the ball, makes some weird fouls around the box, reckless challenges. The little things add up, and I just don't see him. Like, I've never actually rated him, to be honest. Not even when we won the league. I didn't really think of himself. I thought
I disagree with you there. I would have rated him when we won the league.
It's fine.
But I do agree with you that his form has dropped off horrendously. And Dan is just smiling there, waiting to come back at all three of us.
So listen. I agree with Mihai that Gomez is not great in the air. That's actually his weakest thing. His passing is actually not that. One of Gomez's best attributes is that he plays that curved ball. This was part of that 18-19, 19-20. And even 2 years ago now, God, it's weird saying that loud, the quad year, is it that curved ball into Trent or that curved ball into Salah or Henderson into space was one of our great release valves in the back line. I agree that you can upgrade on Gomez. I'm not saying Gomez is great. the problem is you're creating more problems to solve. That you're just creating problems.
I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm saying keep him there as depth and use him in like early cup games and everything like that until you start signing more better players. That's what I'm saying.
My point being is that if we're saying that we need to replace Matip and Gomez, which is what Ibrahima Konate is supposed to do, you're still trying to solve a problem when there are other problems to solve as well. I'm saying that there are other players that can solve that problem in the short term while you get a long-term problem. And those short-term players are still Matip and Gomez. And again, I think Matip's dropped off a cliff too. I mean, it's going to be weird if we see him against Newcastle and he gets exposed. But I think it'll be Gomez that starts. Kwan's on the bench. Konate will be there, but he just won't be. But he won't start.
Yeah,
like
I think
for me, if you ride Gomez for another year or two while you replace your defenders, I don't think that's the worst option. Or you can win a Premier League with one like decent but injury-prone center back like that just fills it. I mean, Manchester United did it for years with like, oh god, John O'Shea, like Wes Brown. Like you can name.
Don't slander my countrymen like that. How dare you?
Okay, but even City center backs are like City does not have like the.
You show me one center back that can play in goal, and I'll show you John O'Shea. How dare you?
Well, look at Man City center backs though. It's like you're talking about like, okay, who would we take? Guardiola. Maybe some people would take Diaz. I mean, Laporte just left in many ways.
Yeah.
Like
maybe we take Diaz.
Ake is really not that much better than Gomez. Akanji's really not that much better than Gomez on like when you compare the two, except for the fact they're just not injured. Like so.
Yeah, but availability is the best ability.
Exactly. No, I agree. I agree, completely agree. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to like buy a center back to replace them in the long term. I just don't want to get. I just think we should shy away from this mindset of creating more problems in our heads to solve when in fact we just need to replace right now a midfielder and a defender in my opinion at this moment.
Something that was put into the chat that I actually find quite interesting, because I think we touched on this point, is Drew mentioning, is there a hypocrisy between saying Gomez can't play it when he's shown he can do it with the best? Yeah, but if and Nunes just needs time when he's inconsistent as well. The difference is Gomez has been here for multiple years
and he's 27.
And he's 27. Darwin
and
Nunes
he's English.
And he's English. That's something. It's something that's given a lot of time. Nunes has been with us a year, had 20 goal attributions, goal contributions last season, in a season that he couldn't even speak the language. So he couldn't even speak English, and he still had 14 goals and 5 assists, I believe.
15, I think.
I lie. Apologies, Harmony. Thank you. 15 goals and 5 assists, 20 in total. I didn't even speak the language, and he's yet to go off this season, but I can guarantee you he's looking an awful lot better. With Joe Gomez, I'd completely agree with you and say that it's hypocritical to say that us not liking Joe because of... No, you're still here, Dan. You're good.
Okay. I don't know what happened there for a second.
No, you're good. We haven't lost you. I haven't kicked you out yet. You're still here. You're good. It'd be hypocritical if Nunes was here for the same amount of time and had the same inconsistencies, but there's been as Mihai was saying, there's been a steady decrease of form throughout the past number of years, and if you were in any job doing that, you'd end up being let go from the job, and we shouldn't be holding the footballers that play for our favorite team, other than Mihai because he's an Arsenal fan. Footballers that play for our favorite team.
I'm never gonna hear the end of this.
No, man, that's the kind of stuff that would not be tortured out of me. But okay, look, we won't hold it against you. You're here. You're a fan of Liverpool too. We'll live with it. We'll live with it.
Just context for the chat. There were the predictions for the season, and I predicted Arsenal to win the league, and basically gave them like the player of the season, something like that. So that's
he's an Arsenal fan. He's an Arsenal fan.
You absolute traitor. But okay.
Do you know what we should do? We should buy you like one of them jerseys that's half and half, like half Arsenal, half Liverpool, and send it to you for the Arsenal Liverpool games.
Yeah, I mean Arsenal are 6 points out of 6 at the moment, so
no. So are Brighton. So
they played Forest. They played Forest, and they played Notts Forest and Crystal Palace away. And in both games, they did not look great outside.
Yeah, they really didn't look great in that Crystal Palace game. Really,
that's how you win a league, you know.
Listen, I agree. I agree.
What's going on here? Hold on, no, I'm sorry.
Liverpool team.
You know what? You're about 5 seconds before I tell you to take off that Liverpool top, because right now you're taking the team.
Okay, we're going to move away from talking about Mihai's favorite team, Arsenal, and we'll move on to some team news in relation to the game on Sunday. Now, we have our game preview tomorrow. We won't get into this too much, but just to finish off the stream for the last 10 minutes, just Trent is fit. He had a knock. We're happy with him. He's fully fit for the game. Konate is a doubt, but he's only a doubt, and there's still a day or two left before the game. He could still make the game. Jones and Thiago are out until Monday. They'll be both back Monday. There was no mention of Stefan Bajcetic. Did anybody hear anything in relation to him, or is he still out as well as long as Thiago, or is he back in the squad training full time with the squad? Or do we think it'll be him and Endo switching and rotating at the 6th this weekend?
He was at a game last week. He was literally warming up on the side of the pitch. So I'm guessing he's available.
Yeah, I think Badge is back, so.
Yeah. So I think he's actually available. So
here's a question for everybody. So would you start him over Endo? And I'll put that to the chat as well. If we had the choice between Stefan Bajcetic and Endo, who would you start over him against Newcastle?
Endo. Absolutely.
Endo. Everybody's saying Endo.
Yeah.
I would go Bajcetic.
I think I'd go Bajcetic too.
Oh God!
Don't throw the kid in. He hasn't had a game.
You guys are unbelievable. Oh,
Just being contrarian now.
No, I think he'd do well. Him matching up against Joe Linton. I take Bajcetic every day of the week and twice on a Sunday, and I'll take him twice this Sunday.
Well, if we can clone him, Stephen, we'll definitely do that. I mean, listen, I love Stefan Bajcetic as well, but Wataru Endo, you bought him. He's fit. He's been with the team for a week.
Yeah, it's a little bit of bias showing on my side here.
Start him now. Don't get me wrong. I think there is a world where neither of them start, and we see the same exact team we played against Bournemouth and Chelsea. I think that's possible. Yeah. You see Gakpo and Jota and Diaz and Salah again as well.
Centeno, why aren't we changing tactics? Klopp, basically. To make a long answer short. Klopp, he's, as we've seen throughout last season, he's very stubborn. He seems to be very stubborn in how he does his tactics. Now, he could change. He did say at the start of the season the formation that we had isn't going to be the one for the rest of the season. We don't know. He could turn around and do a 4-2-3-1 tomorrow and have Nunes and Gakpo playing and Mac and Szoboszlai as the two holding midfielders. I don't think that'll work, but stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to, and again, for him, like you're going to have a set tactic for these first 4 games because after this you have so much time to coach with the international break as well. So you go in with this initial plan. You can't just drop the plan 3 games in because no one will buy into your next plan. So you get buy-in for this plan. Yeah. It works. It doesn't work. You move on to your next plan after that.
Yeah, but and also I think he's just. I feel like he doesn't have all the players he wants in every single position, so he can't really. I feel like he can't really play how he really wants to play because he's missing vital players in vital positions. So that could be another reason why.
Yeah, it's almost like he's missing a 6. Who would have thought?
No, he has a 6 now. He has a 6 now. Yeah, he does have a 6 now.
He does. He has a 6 now. I think Endo's actually going to ball out. I know a lot of people are doubting him because he's 30 years old and he's from Japan, but I think our little red samurai is actually going to really ball out. He came on and done a stellar job against LFC Transfer Room retweeted what I said. I called him the red samurai first, and then we retweeted it after that. So I'll repost it, should I say. We can't say tweet anymore. Elon Musk will come after us. But I think he's going to be a baller, genuinely. And from watching, like, for a 30-year-old in a top 5 league in the world in the Bundesliga to perform as well as he does. I know it's on the not the best team in Stuttgart, but I do genuinely think that he'll be a solid option for us. I don't think he'll be in the Milner role just yet, but I do think he'll move into it. But it's going to be good. Before we end up going, guys, I do want to say thank you all, everybody, for watching. We've had over 200 people, 250 people in here watching today. It's been absolutely fantastic getting to chat with everybody, seeing all the banter and the chat and the comments going back and forth, and obviously the banter with myself and the 2 boys. I want to thank as well Soren for the 169 Danish kroner. Very much appreciated. And I'd like to thank Boogers Taste Salty. Again, what a name. For the $5. It's very, very much appreciated, and thank you so much for that. Guys, have you any final thoughts on the weekend? Predictions for Sunday? We'll start with yourself, Harmony, and we'll go around. Any predictions for Sunday? Scoreline, player of the game, anything special happening?
Why would you put a pressure on me first? I was hoping you went for one of these guys here.
I can come back to you if you want.
No, it's fine. My heart is saying 2-1 Liverpool. I see, depending on who starts up front, I see Diaz scoring again because I feel like he's just in that mood and he's just in that form.
He's feeling dangerous.
I can see him scoring, and I could also see Gakpo probably getting the goal in there if he starts off on the false nine position. And I think the player of the game, it actually won't be the guys that scored. I feel like Slobosai is going to have such a great game.
Yeah. I agree with
that. That's my prediction.
Mihai, yourself, how do we think we're going?
I'm gonna be optimistic. 2-0. I think Szoboszlai.
You're definitely an Arsenal fan now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, honestly, I've always said I'm a bit of a pessimist. Honestly, I'm dreading this one. I honestly have no faith. But yeah, hopefully we get at least a point. I think I don't know. I think Diogo will score and maybe Szoboszlai as well.
Dan, yourself, and then I'll give my pessimistic predictions.
So I'll take a draw. I don't like it's if you draw away Newcastle, it's a perfectly fine result. Like regardless of like what our ambitions are this year. Harmony disagrees, but listen. Listen. I would take a draw because a draw is perfectly fine for the first 4 games of the season, especially away from home to a Newcastle team that have this new way of playing. I think we'll win 2-0. I don't rate Newcastle that highly. I know people disagree with me. I think Sandro Tonali is a perfectly fine midfielder, but he's playing out of position right now. Ironically, him and Bruno Guimaraes are getting in the way of each other. If you look at that Newcastle game against City, you can see the fact that Newcastle don't have actually a lot of ideas of how to attack unless Hal does something crazy and put Isaac on the left and Wilson through the middle. That's the only way I could see this working. But I think we win 2-0. I hope Darwin starts because I would just love him to terrorize that back line of Newcastle because they're slow. But he probably won't start him, but I hope he does. But I think we win 2-0 and Szoboszlai bosses the game, and you see why we wanted Szoboszlai and not Sandro Tonali.
Yeah, I'd be in agreement with that. I would like a win, but if I'm going to be perfectly honest and be a realist in relation to this, I think going to St. James's Park with that sort of refurbished Newcastle team and how good they can be, and we've seen the first game of the season how they came out and just threw haymakers and were 2-0 up within the space of a couple of minutes. We can't start the same way that we did against Bournemouth and switch off for the first 15 minutes. We really have to come out and start going guns blazing. I do agree with Dan in saying that Darwin Núñez needs to start because his pace alone will terrify that back line because they're not that quick at all. If you think Joel Matip and Gomez aren't quick off the ball, this is a defense that's exactly the same way. I think Darwin Núñez will cause havoc, and I do think if he starts, he gets a goal or two. I think Diaz is just in a dangerous form right now. I think he could drop 1 or 2 on Sunday, and I think Jota might steal one if that doesn't happen, or Salah might get one because he's been kind of cold since. So I do think something could happen. Now, the realist in me is just thinking I'd be happy with a draw. Going to St. James's Park, it's a hostile environment. It's like going to Stamford Bridge with Chelsea. It's you'd be happy with a point, you'd be elated with a win. So let's hope for some 3 points on Sunday, but I'd be very happy with 1 point, especially only this far into the season. I do agree with you, Dan. I don't rate Newcastle that highly, but I don't rate Newcastle that highly for the season. I don't like playing them this early on purely because they're kind of on a bit of hot form at the moment. Later on in the season when they're a little bit more weathered, I've no problem with that whatsoever. But I wouldn't be opposed to just getting and stealing a point from this and coming home with a point. I'd be very happy with that.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Anyways, guys,
so I guess I'm the one that thinks we're gonna win. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Harvey. I literally just said we're gonna win. I just said we're gonna win, Harvey.
No, don't try it. You're not on my side.
Harmony's the only optimist for this.
No, Harvey. I literally just said we're gonna win 2-0. Like I even said we keep it a clean sheet. Like I'm putting my neck on the line here. I just said I'm okay with the draw. I think
I kind of just sat on the fence and said I'd be happy with a point, but I'd be elated with a win. But
no, honestly,
we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, guys. Sorry, go ahead, Mihai. You were about to say something.
I was actually, that was my point. I wanted to say, Dan saying we're going to keep a clean sheet after almost conceding 2 or 3 to Bournemouth at Anfield in the first 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I think we can't fall asleep for the first 15 minutes. We fall asleep for the first 15 minutes. We're 2 goals down.
Yeah,
as we've seen it against in Newcastle's first game, they can very easily bang 2 goals in against the run of play. So we need to be on our game straight away from the get-go. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you everybody so much for joining us for the past hour. We've talked a lot of crap for the past hour, but hopefully some of it is stuck. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you again to Soren and Boogers Taste Salty, the name I still can't get over. Thanks for the $5 there, and Soren for the 169 Danish kroner. Love you guys so much. From myself, Mihai, Harmony, and Dan. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and up the Reds.